Hit it.
Yes.
What is going on, boys? Welcome back to the Monday Morning Quarterbacks Podcast, episode 43. It is championship weekend. Just got to witness some very interesting games in the divisional round. How we feeling, Josh? How we feeling, Hefe?
I feel great. The Lions looked great, so I'm happy about that.
How you feeling, Hefe?
Living the dream. I didn't really watch a lot of the games because I was in Chicago and drinking way too much, but did see the Lions lose. Did see Mark Andrews drop the 2-point conversion.
Heartbreaking.
What game you guys want to start with?
Texans, Chiefs.
Okay, let's start right
Boring.
at the top. Right at the top. Yeah,
Boring.
Death taxes and the Chiefs win in the divisional round. Mahomes 7-0 in the divisional round. And playoff Kelsey is
Mahomes
back.
doing every call he wants.
Oh, that.
The calls are so out of hand. Something needs to happen. There needs to be an investigation. There needs to be a flopping penalty instituted. The refs need to be investigated. I don't know how they can make these calls week after week.
Okay, I'll play devil. I agree with both of you, but I'll play devil's advocate in the sense of in the last 3 years, Josh Allen's thrown the ball like 300 times less than Patrick Mahomes, and he's drawn 15 more roughing the passer penalties. So everyone's kind of playing that devil's advocate
Josh Allen
card.
to knock him down.
So I don't know. A lot of people are saying that kind of stuff. It seems like the calls really get amped up this time of year, and the problem is he's so good at doing it. Like, he'll refuse to go out of bounds. He'll stay on the sideline, and if he gets touched, he'll fly 20 yards out of bounds. And meanwhile, he was about to run out of bounds on a different play, cuts back in, jukes a guy out, and then just falls to the ground in 0.2 seconds while two guys are already, like, lunging at him. They collide into each other and, like, nick him barely. 15-yarder, boom. On a what would have been a punt turns into a first down.
I don't know how they have to like be able to review some of these calls or something, because if there's a call that's that atrocious, I just don't understand why they can't just radio down from New York and tell them to pick it up. Like when it's that obvious, like how can we just watch the ref walk out a minute later and announce the penalty?
This is why they had that whole system in place, right? They can do it for some penalties, but they can't do it for some, like, I don't know. It's weird how it is. Some penalties they can call down and change. Some penalties they can't. Like, it's dependent on the penalty, which is weird, but that is actually one where they can call down and change, but apparently if there's any contact, even in the slightest, they can overturn it. It's kind of...
Well, they need to change the rule then, because it's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
And
Mahomes needs to start getting flopping penalties. We need
NBA fines.
Yeah, do something. There has to be a flopping penalty because they can't. I mean, other quarterbacks do it too, but watching Mahomes do it after getting those two calls is just sickening.
You guys want to hear the craziest Travis Kelce stat you could think of? In his
stats in the playoffs.
In his last 14 playoff games, he's gone over 70 yards 14 times. And his line last week was 60 yards at plus 120. That was the freest bet of my life. He hit it in the first half. And his line this week is 70.
Well, you'd think the Bills would guard him. I get the first game because he didn't exist the whole season, so the Texans are like, all right.
That's what he did last year.
I know. I don't understand how the Chiefs' offense just operates all year, and then it gets to the playoffs, and then they just completely change the offensive scheme to just only throw the ball at Travis Kelce. I don't understand what I don't get it at all, but that's what happens apparently.
Alrighty, we'll move on to the next game. My personal favorite game of the week, Commanders-Lions. We jokingly said the Commanders had 0% chance to win that game. Josh and I did last week just to kind of put a hex on it, and it worked. I genuinely did, like, I said that kind of as a joke, but that's genuinely how I did feel going into that game. Like, there was no piece of me that felt the Commanders even had a chance in that game, and Jaden Daniels came out and shut a lot of people up.
I was thinking the whole time before the game, and as we were making our predictions in the back of my mind, I was thinking I think the Commanders are going to beat the Lions, and I think people are going to be shocked. But I am going to 100% bandwagon on the Lions just to ensure the jinx. There's no way I could ruin it by picking the Commanders or even giving them a chance in this game.
I
So
bet on the Lions purposefully hoping to jinx them, and I honestly think I did it. I think I was the reason. Like it
maybe
was
we should do that
crazy.
all year next year.
Yeah, I might have to, honestly. But also, what is Dan Campbell doing? Well, it wasn't even Dan Campbell because he's not. What was Ben Johnson doing in not giving Jameer Gibbs the ball 100 times in that game?
It was shocking to see David Montgomery is back and they just immediately throw him back into like the 50-50 role and to see the difference between Montgomery getting the ball and Gibbs getting the ball, it's crazy that they Gibbs touched the ball 14 times that game and averaged like 10 yards a play. It's I don't know how you can just throw Montgomery in there as much as you did.
He was
It
on
was
every time he touches
crazy.
the ball, he can take it. Like he can house it, and it just felt like one of those games where they were gonna like back and forth, back and forth. And Ben Johnson chose to trust Jared Goff instead of just feeding Jameer Gibbs. And look what happened: 3 picks, 4 picks if you count JMO's pick. Um, can't wait to see Roma Dunze do some reverse passes next year that hopefully result in some interceptions. But
Is Dan Campbell calling the plays or is it Ben Johnson?
Ben Johnson.
Because I was arguing with someone about it today, and they were telling me Dan Campbell's calling the plays, but I didn't Google it or anything.
Non-ball knower. Disregard anything they've ever said about football.
I think Josh was the one that was
Yeah, I
saying
don't know
Dan
what they're
calling
smoking.
plays.
Who was it? You want to out him? Anyone I know?
Somebody at my work.
Mm.
No, it was no one you know, just someone at my work. I was having a general conversation.
I just don't know why when they went up, they scored the first touchdown. Like, control the clock, do what you did all year, run the ball, and then you want to do fucking trick plays when the game's on the line and have JMO throw into triple coverage.
I get wanting to do a trick play, but you can't. When the receiver gets the ball and they're supposed to pass it, you have to tell him like 7 times before you run the play to just throw it away if he's not wide open. Like, how do you not tell him that? Because they're for sure going to throw into double coverage if you don't tell him that seven
I
times.
mean, have you ever seen? Have you seen Jameson Williams' NFL career thus far? I don't think he's the smartest cookie in the bunch.
No.
The Lions version
Yeah.
of George.
Also,
Pickens.
why are you letting him throw? He's the worst decision maker on the team.
Like that was just like. Granted, you you winneth with Jameson Williams trick plays on the reverse. That was a 70-yard touchdown, and you loseth with Jameson Williams trick plays on the pick. Like it's a matter. That's kind of how trick plays go for every other team. Like you win on some, you lose on some, and that was a big loser in a big spot that ended their season. I mean, it wasn't just that play. It was kind of their offensive turnovers as a whole and their defense not being able to stop Jaden Daniels in the slightest. But
Yeah. Sanders still is also a monster. I love Sanders still. He had 2 picks in that game.
Ooh.
Packers could have drafted him. Decided not to. Whatever.
Yeah, it is like very nice. The Lions fans got served a piece of humble pie, and you can just kind of see like it's been real quiet as someone that's currently living in Michigan. It's been real quiet.
Devastation. I
It was
love
such a look ahead
the
game.
tier.
Everyone already thought they were going to the fucking Super Bowl. We gotta worry about the Eagles. We gotta worry about the Eagles.
I mean, I know better than anyone else what it feels like to have a 15-win season and then have a first-round bye and then lose the first game of the playoffs. I know how it feels. I'm just glad that another fan base got to experience that.
That's great.
Made me
I
feel a little
love
better.
watching other people suffer.
I loved watching Amon-Ra St. Brown cry into the camera and Dan Campbell cry into the camera. I was literally licking the TV. I could taste their tears. So
Jesus
nice.
Christ, dude. Jesus Christ.
It's amazing. I literally started videoing it, and whenever I just have a bad day, I just like pull out the camera of Amon-Ra St. Brown and Dan Campbell crying after the game. It's
And then you
awesome.
lick your phone.
Yeah, it just turns my day around. Bad day at work, come home. It's a good day again. Life's good. Life could be worse. All right, move on to the next game. We got the Rams at the Eagles. Close game, kind of just like a Saquon took over with his long runs. Uh, Stafford had a chance to win it at the end.
Yeah, Hurts has been playing hurt like the last 6 weeks. He's been hurt. So it's basically Saquon putting the team on his back at this point until Jalen Hurts is healthy, which he probably won't be healthy unless they go to the Super Bowl, maybe. I think the Eagles are very beatable. Their defense is tough though, so it'll be interesting to see how Jaden Daniels does against that defense. The Lions didn't have a defense at all, so.
Saquon is inevitable.
Yeah, he's very good. And Jalen Carter is just an absolute specimen. Quinyon Mitchell's getting a lot of hype. I think he's a little overrated. Like, he's had a really good rookie year, like, on paper, and the Eagles are, like, acting like he's... The Eagles are smart on their defense. They're really playing to his skill set in that defense. Whereas he's not your typical, like, lineup with the best receiver, shadow him type guy. He's a really good zone corner. And that's what they do. And it's been working. But yeah, I don't like Philly. And honestly, I think the Rams win that if that center on 3rd and 2 on the 17 can just like snap the ball to Stafford and not snap it over his head.
It was snowing.
Still.
There was some crazy like cold weather games that really messed some people up.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts hasn't thrown over 150 pass yards in 4 straight games.
Yeah, he's been playing hurt for 4 games.
AJ to the Chargers.
That'd be cool.
Like, he is a very, like, you haven't really seen it. He cares so much about getting the ball, and he would almost rather get the ball than have his team win. I think it's super hard for him to have this stretch where he's just not touching the ball.
Well, that's why he's been reading his book on the sidelines. Instead of chucking his helmet and screaming at people, he just sits down and reads inspirational quotes until he feels good.
Dude, opens the book, first line, do not murder Jalen Hurts.
If it works, it works. I mean...
He says he's been doing that all year.
I
have not seen it, though.
The people knew it was happening, and they specifically did not show it, so they could wait to do it during the playoff game, so it'd be a big story.
It's interesting. And then, what was probably the game of the week, Ravens-Bills. Honestly, wasn't even that good of a game. Like, it looked like a close game in the end, but, I mean, Bills kind of had a... Ravens went up 7-0 instantly, but other than that, the Bills kind of controlled that game, and Josh Allen didn't even really have to throw the ball. They really just dominated on the ground, and Lamar had a costly pick and a costly fumble, like playoff Lamar does.
And Mark Andrews fumbled, too, I think.
That was a huge play.
It was another game where it's freezing cold and people are dropping balls and fumbling and
you gotta feel for him. Did you see that random kid that called like before the game started? He like called that the Ravens were gonna need a 2-point to tie it and Mark Andrews was gonna drop it. And it's bizarre too because Harbaugh and the Ravens have been in that situation like 3 times where they need a 2-point to like tie the game or to like win the game. And they've done that same play all 3 times, and they're 0 for 3 on it, and Andrews has dropped it 2 out of the 3 times.
Andrews was wide open, and Lamar Jackson like saw him wide open, and instead of rushing it, you like watched Lamar like take a breath and like take his time to put the ball like an easy throw instead of just on rhythm firing it in, and it wasn't a perfect pass, but I mean I don't know how you drop that, but also if he catches it, he is so close to not being in the end zone. I'm sure he'd fall in and he'd get in, but it is like.
Well, he fell in after he dropped. Like literally, he dropped it and was already falling back into the end zone.
Yeah, they were like cutting that so much closer than it had to be. Like if Lamar would have just hit him on rhythm, right in the numbers, like a rocket, like he would normally throw it, he just walks into the.
It was
end
the
zone.
moment.
Yeah, it was Lamar like took a breath before he threw that ball, and he like gently threw it.
It was reminiscent of the play that ended the Colts season last year, where Trey Sermon just dropped that freebie out of the backfield. You guys remember that?
No.
Yes.
Yeah,
It broke Connor's heart.
Yeah, it was a very similar play, but hey, that's divisional weekend. And we move on. We're down to 4. Final 4, boys. NFC, AFC Championship. Let's start with the 3 o'clock game on Sunday. NFC Championship. Who would have thought this? Commanders. Eagles.
Commanders, Eagles.
Eagles are -6, over under 47.5.
Who's going first?
I'll take it.
Not me.
I'll do it. I'm gonna pick the dog. I'm gonna pick the Commanders, man. Jalen Hurts has just not been playing like Jalen Hurts has, and I think the Commanders can put up points with anyone. Watching what they did to Detroit last week, I get it. Like, you go from probably playing the worst defense in the league to playing the best defense in the league this week, but you're not gonna have to put up 40 like you'd had to against the Lions. Like, I don't think the Eagles are going to be scoring that many points. Really, you just have to – I think you just stack the box and say, Jalen, beat us with your arm. Because I don't think you sit and cover 2 like every team has this season. And I think you just put 8 in the box and say, Jalen, come beat us. But I'm going to take the Commanders just more so because I hate Philly. And I don't want to see another Philly-Chiefs Super Bowl. So,
if it's a Philly-Chiefs Super Bowl, I'm not watching it. But if the Chiefs go to the Super Bowl, I don't think I can watch it. But if you stop Saquon, I think the Eagles are basically helpless. Jalen Hurts is hurt, and he's so hurt that they won't even do a tush push, like on the 1-yard line. They had 3 plays from the 1-yard line, and then it came down to 4th and inches, and they finally did the tush push. And the penalty called it back, so it didn't matter, but... normal game, Jalen Hurts is tush pushing that from the first down. So he's obviously super hurt. It's all on Saquon. If you stop Saquon, Commanders win. I will also take the Commanders here. They're hot. See if they can keep it up.
They've played each other twice already this season. Commanders won 1, Philly won 1. I think the one the Commanders won was against the backup QB in Tanner McKee, but
I call cap that if the Chiefs and Eagles are in the Super Bowl, that Josh isn't watching it.
I'm not watching it. I swear I'm not.
You're still gonna watch it. Don't even fib yourself.
Someone's gonna tell me when the commercials are coming out.
Don't
I'm gonna
even
run into
fib
the
yourself, bro.
Dude,
I'm gonna run into the room and watch the
You're
commercials.
still gonna watch it. He's still gonna watch it. Yeah, I mean, this is divisional opponent 3 times this year. They split it. I mean, Philly should have swept them, but it was Pickett, and it was still a close game. The Commanders are probably the luckiest team in the NFL this season, with Hail Marys, last minute, just like 15 seconds, you're scoring 90-yard touchdowns. Like, their luck has to run out eventually. Philly knows this team, and I think they're going to come out and roll, and it won't even be close. The Commies won that last game. That was probably their Super Bowl. So, like, I think they're going to have a hangover, and Philly's going to go to the Super Bowl.
I feel like that's the exact take I would have had if I didn't hate the Eagles so much.
I was going to say exactly what Jake said. I feel like that's totally possible. Everything you said made a ton of sense.
Yeah. It definitely does feel like the Commanders peaked last week, but we'll see. That's why you play the games, right?
Hurts is hurt.
Moving on to the AFC Championship, we got the Bills at the Chiefs. Chiefs are -2, over under 47.5. I'll start us off again. Josh Allen. It's just Josh Allen's season. It's just felt like it's been Josh Allen's season all year long, and it's fun. We get a little rematch of the in-season game this year. We get a rematch of the 2022 AFC Championship, where Josh Allen scored the go-ahead touchdown with 13 seconds left and thought he was going to the Super Bowl, and then in 13 seconds, the Chiefs got in field goal range and tied it, sent it to OT, won the coin toss. History. But the game this year, the Bills actually won, and that was the game where Mahomes was like complaining about the officials to Josh Allen while they were like didn't even shake his hand, was saying that was some BS officials like to Josh Allen after the game. And everyone was super salty about that, but it'll be interesting to see how the refs play a factor in this game, and if Mahomes gets the classic Mahomes that he's gotten over the past 3 years in these big games, or if it's really Josh Allen's year. I think the Bills' run game is something that no one's been talking about with James Cook, Tyler Johnson, and Ray Davis, who is just like really a three-headed monster, and all three of those guys can catch the ball out of the backfield too. Josh Allen's not even throwing to his receivers. Like Keon Coleman and Amari Cooper had a combined 1 catch last week. The guys that are catching the ball is Khalil Shakir and the backs out of the backfield. So it'll be interesting to see going against the Chiefs, who have a really good run defense, if they're going to shift to more of a pass or how they're going to end up beating this team. But I think the Bills find a way to get it done.
Yeah. The Bills are way better. It should be an easy game. It shouldn't even really be close. The Bills should just run through the Chiefs. The Chiefs keep winning when they shouldn't. I think the Chiefs probably shut down the Bills' run game, and they probably shut down the pass game. But I think Josh Allen just runs for over 100 yards in this game and puts the team on his back and wills them to victory. And the Bills' defense holds the Chiefs to under 20 points.
I think this game's going to be closer than the regular season game.
Nope.
I really don't want to see the Chiefs go back to the Super Bowl. Josh Allen has to beat Mahomes eventually, right?
Has
In the
to.
playoffs.
It's a classic Anakin Skywalker Obi-Wan moment.
It's gotta be.
Who's got the high ground?
This whole season has felt like a passing of the torch season. And I just... The Chiefs can't three-peat. They're not going to do it.
No team's ever done it.
And they're not going to be the first.
Unless you count the Packers, who won before there was a Super Bowl. They won that year, and then the first 2 Super Bowls they won. So technically the Packers did it, but technically
no, we don't
not.
Count that.
So
no, we don't count that. I'm going to take the Bills because I can't fathom watching a Chiefs game and they play so boring. So
the boys are on Bills Mafia. Let's go jump through some tables.
It's
I
gotta
won't
be.
watch.
Gotta be.
That's all I got, boys. You guys got anything you want to add before we wrap up the pod here? Quick one. We're only picking 2 games. We're really coming down to it. Literally, we just got our Super Bowl pod, and then that's it for the pod. I mean, that's it for until next season, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Crazy. Year flew by. It's always a pleasure podcasting with you boys. We're 2 men down. Big P's gone incognito mode, and Connor, I don't know.
Connor will ask about it every week and never show up.
Yeah, so.
Yep.
It's been the 3 wise men the last 2 weeks, but hey, we get the job done. We do it for the love of the game. We do it for the love of the podcast. We do it for the people. Got to give the people what they want.
We keep getting so many requests to keep doing more pod.
We're getting so many views. We're almost in the double-digit views. It's crazy.
Mental growth.
But hey, it's for the love of the game, and I love doing the podcast regardless. But appreciate you guys always watching. We'll see you next week for Super Bowl, or maybe in 2 weeks. I don't know if we'll do the podcast next week or the week after, with there being a 2-week gap for the Super Bowl. But regardless, we'll see you boys for one last pod. Signing off. Peace, boys.